The greatest thing I can do in this earth to leave an impact is to become more like Jesus. I mean, he made the greatest lasting impact you could have.
Welcome to the Lasting Impact Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Marquin. Join me as I sit down with remarkable individuals making a meaningful difference in business and ministry. We'll explore their stories, challenges, and successes, all with the goal of encouraging you to go out and make a lasting impact. If you love what you hear, don't forget to rate, review, and share. Welcome to Lasting Impact. John Mitchell.
Yes.
Welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good to be here. Honored to be here.
Yeah, man, so glad to have you. For our listeners that may not know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so father of two, been married for 15 years. I have a huge background in music, studio world, worship world for church, and have been involved in those environments for decades. And have most recently, I also do a little bit of real estate stuff, and so kind of a combination of real estate, studio, and sort of some entrepreneurial stuff makes up a good bit of what my focus is now in this season. So,
well, that's awesome, man. I know as your pal, and sometimes you can be a hard guy to catch. So I know you're always you're a worker, man. You know, you're up to something. Your sleeves are always rolled up, and you're yeah. I know you do, and I love that about you. So we got connected through our church. Mm-hmm. We're here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Go to a mega church, what's considered a mega church, very large, a lot of people attending. I've been going there for 24 years, and so. You were a face that we all see because I saw you on stage either through I think through young adult ministry at that time.
Okay.
You were in a band. You were in a band and the drummer and had the headset on as your monitors or whatever. Yep. And so anyway, you've stood out for a lot of years and I don't know how many years later we finally got to meet through Mountain Men Ministry. And so anyway, so I know that you were young then. And so one of the things that I first knew about you is this is a music guy. And I didn't know if you were on staff or you were just high capacity volunteer and there all of the time. But I know at some point you became on staff. So here's my question is, when did you start in music, and was it straight for the church? Was it, tinkering around the house with mom and dad? At some point, you get called into worship ministry.
Yeah. So it felt like really early on music. I remember being in a band class and just loving even the sound of the instruments and just being like, I dig this. This is cool. But I think it even right around that time was really just this desire to drum. Drums were the big first thing that seemed really fun. And right after I started drumming, started taking drum lessons, I got an opportunity from a guy at church who they were looking for musicians, in a back classroom somewhere in the very back of the church, really low profile. And those were the first times I played. I was 12 years old, I think, 11, 12 years old. And my parents faithfully brought me every week to go to do that, to fulfill that commitment. And I think really played drums all through high school or middle school, high school in the church. And then basically worked my way up in those worship bands. So started in the, then transitioned to a bigger room, the youth room, youth group, then eventually played in what was called the main service. Years kind of transpired over that time, but became really just kind of I was kind of one of the core guys around church as a musician for a really long time. Yeah. I think I counted it up the other day and it was 29 years of playing drums or another instrument, but mainly drums on stage. So that church was really the biggest, being involved in church was definitely the biggest developer. I did go through music in high school, was in jazz band, had some success there, did all-state jazz, did some stuff that was really fun, but But it felt like for me, I never, I had dreams of going on tour. Man, I'd love to, I want to be a drummer on tour and this and that. But I never got away from that just weekend commitment. And I really loved that. It began to kind of be a foundation in my life, the community of musicians that I was a part of, and then work that would come through that, opportunities that would come through that. So, music has been, and probably, will continue to be just a massive part of my journey. But that's a little snapshot of how it developed.
Yeah. And we'll probably get into a little bit of this, that was just the start.
Yes.
Music is very broad. Like you can produce and you write and I think we can have time. Hopefully we can get into some of that.
Yeah.
When you're going through this, adolescence of anywhere in there, this is just out of curiosity, and we didn't talk about this. Are you feeling like, man, God, this is a gift that you've given me, and I want to serve you with my gift?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not trying to mock that, but is that, were you ever feeling that? Or you were just like, hey, this is a talent I have, and this is just a good step. And now, we just have so many people that are just faithful to church and make it their habit.
Yes.
And I don't even know if they're into it anymore. I get worried about burnout for my own son, who's a drummer. I was like,
Sure.
well, hey, is your heart still in it? And I don't want you to get, resentment towards so many services. Or what, so, what was that like? Tell me about you. Is that something you felt at some point? Like, this is a gift.
I definitely, and this was
or a calling.
Huge thanks to my parents for kind of helping shape this as I was developing. But, it was very much like presenting, this is something I'm presenting to the Lord. This is something I'm bringing to him. That if I'm, working on developing this gift, I remember my dad telling me multiple things, a man's gift makes room for him, brings him before great people, kings and people that are in authority. And so work hard, be diligent with the thing that you, my parents knew very early on, there was at least a rhythmic, drumming gift there that I was very interested in and developed. But I think, they helped me to, as I continued, just to know, hey, one thing that my dad would always tell me was, before you go out there, just in your heart, just be sure, say, Lord, I do this as unto you, not unto men. Like, I'm not doing this for the men in this room or the people here. I want my heart posture to be toward you. I think those were seeds, because I think there was a lot of doing that for men probably that happened.
Sure.
But, those seeds really continue to grow, and just that desire to, I want to honor God with this gift. And really as that continued, as I was just faithful to do that, it really did, that singular gift really did open up just so many, if not all, the doors that really needed to open at that adolescence, early, am I going to go to college? Am I going to get a job? Those decisions were made because of the faithfulness of that gift. And so I got out of high school, and the guy that I was in a band with is now our pastor, Pastor Witt. And he was working at the studio at the church, at like a film studio at the time, and offered me a job. It's like, hey, do you want to come work here? And that was another big transition into kind of more official work, more, really learning the skill and trade of even like film audio and studio, like film location audio, like stuff like that was like stuff I hadn't gotten into but was interested in. And so music, the gift kind of just led to all those next steps.
I love the voice that your dad had. And so I want to go there for a second if we can. So it sounds like your parents were believers. They had you at the right place. It sounds like your dad was, maybe an impact in your life or impactful in your life, at least speaking that. So as a dad of a musician, and we started my son Jack in drums at 10 with your recommendation. You said, hey, I would take him. I'm sure everybody asks you these questions.
Yeah.
I reached out to you and another pal of ours. I'm like, all right, I got a little guy who's interested, I know you don't want him. Where am I taking him? And you're like, hey, I sent everybody here.
Right.
And so we did. And 5 years later, he's still going there, but that's cool. Made the cut as a 12-year-old. And anyway, so
that's awesome.
Dude, so now he's 15, sophomore in high school. And I've been running his rear end up to the church for all these years at all kinds of odd times. And I can say that there's plenty of moments that I believe pouring into him and like what's your heart and what's this about. And, but give me your word or those parents that have a child that is like, it looks like your kid is really starting to have a talent or a gift or a desire to be up at the church serving. Doesn't have to be a musician, you know, maybe they're a singer or they like serving in the nursery or they're starting to be drawn to serve. And, you know, when we go to this nice church, there's a work to it, but there's also like there's a niceness to it and you kind of become something to it.
Yeah.
And
there's a stage.
There's a stage. It's a tough balance between like, okay, we just can't let any ding dong up here and they can't, you know, hold a note or play in rhythm. And so you do got to perform. Like you got to have a good performance because we need you. And also it is unto the Lord.
Yes.
And so now, talk to us as a parent. We were talking to you a little bit as this young student and your dad speaking into you. What would you say to those parents who are like, here's what I would be feeding them.
Oh yeah.
Here's the voice.
So good.
Here's what should be in their ear.
Yes.
As you're running them up to the church or now they're driving now. It doesn't matter. They're young. They're still influential. What should we be saying to them? Because it's if you're faithful, it's just becomes sometimes like brushing your teeth.
Yeah.
Like meet you up there, see you up there.
Yep.
Fight before church, fight after church, no big deal, but we'll still be at church. Like nothing's going to fall apart. We're just normal human. But it is like, it's easy to lose the nice specialness to it. So
absolutely. Yeah.
What would you say? What are you saying? What do we need to be saying into these young people's ears as they're wanting to serve?
Man, I think it's such a unique thing to use a gift in the position of worship. That's very unique. You know, you can use a gift. You can use it build it into a career. You can build it into, but this is unique because you're developing something in your life that then you're bringing into an environment that it's worship and it's meant to be worship. Hopefully it's true worship. Hopefully it is. But I think that is something that, especially for young people, man, as parents, we can frame that and help them to understand what is going on here and what is important. Yeah. It's so much about the heart posture. And I think, you know, even from realizing through my journey, not doing certain aspects of this is like makes me want to speak into it more. You know, it's very easy for our prep and the things that we're doing, you know, what's going through our mind. Yeah. You know, if we're practicing and this could be at any level of worship ministry, but you know, if I'm developing a gift, what is it that I'm seeing, you know, in what is it that I'm envisioning? Because I would envision in my mind. That's awesome. I would see myself doing well. So part of that's important. You need to, you know, you don't want to see yourself failing. Right. so that's good. But like I think it was easy for it to shift to be like, basically that became part of my identity because I wanted to be seen well. I wanted people to notice me. So really what was motivating maybe my actions and some of those things to be diligent, to be faithful to what it could kind of slant towards a selfish, you know, or self-centered thing. Well, you know, you're developing. You're a child. You know, you're a young adult. You're growing. You're developing. So this is something that's going to grow in us. But I think just the idea of continuing to seed, like your preparation, what you're doing, man, see yourself worshiping the Lord. Wow. Like let even your preparation be actually some of the most valuable worship that you do, because that's going to protect your heart when you're in the stage and you're in this environment where people can be the praise of people. Oh, you did, man, look at you did so good.
Right.
But why did I do so good? I did so good because it was in my heart to worship the Lord. That was why I was doing it. And I think just continuing as parents to influence the why. Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Why is it that you want to be good at this? Why do you want to, this is a good thing that you're doing. It is good to dedicate yourself to something. And man, we're going to pour gasoline on this little ember in you. And we want to see this develop, but we want to know why. And we want to do it for the right why. Yeah, I think that's really
fantastic.
important.
Yeah, that's great. It's great for me and Jennifer, because we're just, that's perfect. And those are questions that we need to be asking them so they can, and then we can make them to answer.
Yeah, listen for that. Yeah.
Because I think sometimes we forget, or I can forget. I'm like, okay, here's my routine as a father. I should be asking these questions. And then I don't think outside of asking the questions. I'm like, oh yeah, my response is going to be on what he says or she says.
And then just keep encouraging them. I mean, because they're not going to, that's going to grow. It's going to, it took years for those kinds of things to grow in me. So
there's so much stuff that there's just this humanness to it.
Absolutely.
Jack, my son Jack, it's his first time he got to play at 180. It's a big deal for him. It's a big deal for us. I shared it with you. I shared it with my friends. It's like, it's a big deal. This guy's, because
he's worked hard. He's gotten this opportunity.
Because that stage is nice. Like if those listening, it's a real deal stage, performing stage with the lights and the action. And our church does a wonderful job of bringing greatness and colliding it with the Word of God and genuine, authentic. It's not fake. It's we get to bring excellence, and it's really cool. I said all that to say, I noticed he put a cool jacket on. I noticed he put a cool jacket on.
Look good.
Yeah, and I get it, man. I didn't want to like crush that and be like, hey, where's your heart on that? I was like, hey, man, that's cool, dude. It is special.
Yeah.
Have a good time.
Yep.
And so I know that is natural, anybody. And that's, part of what we all are faced, whether it's in business, we want to look good and perform well, but we want the authentic heart of like, I want all of this because I want to work as unto God well and help people and serve the Lord.
That's
all right. I want to transition into now you're at the church. Now you've been hired. You remember how old you were when you first started as officially this guy's on staff?
19.
Okay. Yeah. So
right out of school.
That's awesome. Young. And from there, working in the ministry, you're starting to, they're helping you probably through tasks that you need to do or, where the church is headed, you're starting to learn more stuff.
Yes.
What were you, because fast forward to now, you've had to have a studio where you can probably do anything out of there, record music, soundtracks, podcasts, edit, name it, right? But you weren't that at 19.
Right.
You developed a lot of that skill through working in a ministry where there was opportunities to learn and fail, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I want to walk me through a little bit, not necessarily first I learned mixing and then they gave me a guitar but walk me through some pivotal points of they put this project on my plate here, and through the mess, it came out like, shoot, man, I just learned how to whatever. Or through this, dang, I think I can write some music. Or, man, I can not just write a song, put a score together. So I want to hear about some of that. Because you're a talented dude, and a lot of people don't know that.
So basically where it started was I got a job right out of high school working at what was considered the film or studio, and like it was like 30-person on set crew every day shooting curriculum, massive post-production operation with multiple suites. It was for me walking into that as a 19-year-old, I was like, this is pretty close to like Hollywood level here, which at the time it really was. Like looking back, they were really doing it at that level. And so it was an incredible opportunity to learn. And I think I took that same, just like hard work, want to learn, want to serve, and applied that to these new opportunities, and very quickly just began to get new opportunities, new responsibilities, new things. They started teaching me more. Well, then fast forward to, I think it might have been within the first year I was there, sometime, maybe 12 months. All of that kind of took a hard left turn, and they shut all the curriculum had they were going a different direction. The church was changing its kind of operations there, and there was a lot of people that exited or were let go at that time. Well, I was kind of like one of the new guys, but I was one of the guys that they kept, and they offered me hey, we are still going to have some work, that's not at the scale. We're going to be doing more, smaller form stuff and this kind of thing. So could you help with that? And I was like, yeah, that's great. So that started a relationship with some small, a group of friends that developed that were all producing their own little content. Like and some of it was for church. So I was getting trained there. I was getting a great opportunity there. But it was also like, hey, this guy needs a little custom score for this short film that he's doing. And it was like, he can't pay anything, but do you want to, wow. And I all of that music through high school, through, just all that journey, I had always loved film score. Any kind of custom music for picture was always really, really exciting to me. So
cool.
I definitely leaned into a lot of those opportunities, and those were really opportunities that began to bring more opportunities. So it started with tracking, a score literally at my house and with my, living at home with my parents. I've got this little setup, and guys are coming to my house, guys bringing an upright bass, it's just like, we're just making this music, learning how to do it. And really fell in love with it at that stage. So those friends all began to grow in their craft. Eventually things kind of scaled down to a point where they didn't really need that at the church any longer at that time. So I actually was able to take a job working for a friend of mine who is now extremely successful, as a big, huge company. But he needed help in his audio at the time. And so that was a perfect step from what I had been doing to kind of go, okay, I'm exiting church world or ministry world, but I'm going to go kind of do this in the corporate world. And then about a year later, that guy that had hired me said, hey, you care more about audio and sound and music than I'm ever going to. You should just start your own company. Wow. And I will freelance, like I'll contract you to do my work. Yeah. And that was how Creative Audio Lab started. It was just, he rented me a little space that I was already in and was able to kind of grow from there. But yeah, I think some of the pivotal moments, to answer your question, were those early music scores, those early, just the opportunities that friends were doing work and got to do work with them and learn how to do those things and learn how to kind of push the envelope. And that just naturally grew, and I felt comfortable stepping out. It was a big step, but I remember taking that step to go, okay, I'm going off of a paycheck. I'm going into freelance, and I'm just going to make it happen. So
I'm okay with pausing for a second.
Yeah.
Are we good? Okay, perfect. So just have them edit that out. Okay. I love that. Because it's so, well, that's cool that you got your, dude, like you didn't necessarily, well, there's several things here, dude, but I want to, before I forget this, you started a business and already had a client.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, you should start, I'm your client. Go ahead and start that business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I go, oh my gosh, would most of us do it the other way around? Like I'm going to go start a business and then go try to find clients.
Right.
What do you think it was in you that got the opportunities, like time after time, that just like, for whatever reason, but I want to talk about I know there's more of an answer than just like, oh, those guys were painters and I did music, so I got to stay. But what is it in you that like, hey, each phase we're like, hey, this kind of phase is ending, but John, we want to hold on to you. Yeah. And, hey, this phase is kind of ending, but John, we want to hold on to you. Hey, John, I know of these guys that are trying to get some stuff off the ground. I think you should write their track or their score. And obviously off of the bat, it wasn't something mega, but it was like, John, I think you'd be good at this. What do you think was people saw in you that just kind of kept the next step going?
I think, man, that's such a good question. think
don't be modest.
Yeah, ultimately, I think,
yeah,
I appreciate that question. I think it's valuable to people today who are entering into life. In complete humility, I think 100% it was God's favor. It was just the favor of the Lord. And how do you get the favor of the Lord? You are walking in the way that you can, that you know. I mean, you're not, it doesn't mean you're perfect. Certainly I wasn't perfect in those seasons of my life, but my heart was toward the Lord. I think it's, for a biblical example, it's the difference between Saul and David. It's like they both got opportunities, but one guy kind of like fell off the deep end, and another guy, even through his failures, just seemed to, God just was with him, and he just continued. Well, I just think that heart posture of going, that was maybe it was because I was in all that. I was just able to develop in those worship environments all through. What God was doing. I mean, I honestly don't know. It was my parents were a huge part of it, I'm sure, but I know that I knew enough in those seasons of life that I knew God's favor was. I knew I had favor with God and man, and that everything I set my hand to would prosper. Some of these things that were just kind of core things in me that weren't that way because I'm prideful and I'm seeking my own. It was because, man, when we choose to follow God, when we're walking with him, these are the blessings that come with that. And then if you keep your heart right, just God's gonna bless you with this. I hope that answers.
And
the
you
question.
Felt that you've started really, you were believing that. You were believing that. What I set my hands to will prosper, and I have God's favor. I have favor with God and man.
And that affects how you do your job. I mean, that affects if you're really doubting how you're, you just, I don't know, if you walk into an environment and you're full of doubt and you're full of, man, I like that's going to affect your work. Yeah. It's going to affect your work ethic. Yeah. And I think that honestly is something that I think a lot of this next generation really struggles with. It can be because they're just like, man, I don't know if this is where I'm supposed to be. I don't know if this is what I'm supposed to do. But it's like, I think my parents did a good job of kind of putting that off to the side and just going like, whatever your hand finds to do, just do it with all your might. Do it as unto the Lord. Going back to the thing, like, develop that gift as unto him, and then let him open the doors, let him bless you, let him lead you, and it just kind of happens, man. I don't know. It's not a lot of. I
want to say this, that you're kind of saying it on doing as unto the Lord, but you probably wouldn't say this about yourself because you probably maybe you don't recognize it in yourself. I have a gut feeling, if I know you the way I think I know you, and you were back like that, you were dialed in, focused, like when you were working. I'm sure you're a kid that kind of messed around with your pals at times too, but like I have something in me is saying or is feeling that you're a dialed in, focused dude.
Now, when you say dialed in,
like when I say dialed in and focused, meaning that like, hey, John, we need you to do this. You went and did the job.
Yeah.
And you did it right.
Yeah.
And you do it again until it was right.
Yeah.
And then when the time was up, maybe you'd go clown. I'm not saying there wasn't probably some time, but I think that goes back to a generation who's like kind of every generation has some people like this, but man, I don't know if this is my next season, but I'm here. So I'm kind of half-heartedly.
Yes.
I'm in and out.
Yeah.
I'm in and out. Like there's so many people at work, and I'm not saying that I haven't been one or I haven't. It's not like I have 1 foot in and 1 foot out a lot. And therefore, I'm not dialed in.
Yeah.
I am not focused. And I am not,
I think one thing I prided myself on that really came out of the work ethic of becoming good as a musician. Because that is a work ethic. I mean, that's something you dedicate yourself to. I mean, musicians who are good know what that takes, and musicians who aren't good, they don't really know what that takes. But there's, hours and hours, day after day after day, and the guys who have done it, they know. Anyway, I would say I think there were some things that were developed in me there where I actually liked being the guy who wasn't staying up late playing video games, who wasn't going out. I would pride myself on being, I'm actually, listen, this is what I want to do. I want to be here getting better at this. Yeah. Because I know everybody else is wasting their time. Yeah. And I'm going to, there was something in me.
You saw the golden opportunity.
Yeah. There was something in me that wanted to man, I want to use my time well. Cause I I saw maybe people who weren't, or there was a desire to not be a part of that group. I think, which I don't know exactly where that came from.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the focus, the dialed in focus. You're probably a competitor too. Yes. You're a competitor, you like to win, and it's once you start in a good way, like it's healthy. We just had a guy speak at our men's breakfast a couple months ago, Lance Witt, and he talked about ambition. Yes. And it was so good how ambition is from God, and how we have the power to how are we going to handle that? How are you going to handle the ambition that God has given you? It's not a false ambition; it's really from the Lord. And how are you going to handle that? And that's how. Anyway, we don't have to get on that, but I see that in you, dude. Like when you're dialed in and you're focused. Not every decision was right, but I think you can see opportunities and go for them. And you're right on someone who's focused. And we can take drums for an example, but we'll take it outside of anything in business too. It's like when I see Jack, he's using his drum lessons to focus on next week's set. Because he got the set list or whatever.
Yes.
So when he's going to his lessons, I want to practice this.
Yeah.
And then he's going to go home and he's going to wear us out on practicing that. So when he goes to rehearsal, he's already had whatever amount of hours in on rehearsal. Then when he gets to rehearsal, he's rehearsed up, but he still has to grind through the rehearsal.
Yep.
Leader's going to change something on him. We're dropping that song, but man, he's put the work in.
Yep.
He's put the work in.
Yep.
And, guys like me and probably others who just show up and like, okay, well now it's time to put the work in. But the great ones have already put the work in.
Yeah.
At our school, there's Summer Pride, and your boy will hit that at some point. And it's like, man, those great athletes, Summer Pride is not the only time they're working out.
Yeah.
Like that's like the corporate time they work out together with the team.
But they're putting
in the work individually, whether it's on their own gym membership or at the house or a run by themselves. Because when they get to Summer Pride, they want to use that opportunity with the coaches and the best facilities to give it their all.
Yeah.
Not like 1 hour in, now they're loosened up.
Yeah. The first week is like trying to break, just get through the workouts because you're not really in shape. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to hit a couple of things. Well, I don't know if we can get through them all, but I want to talk about outside of music, there was business. Your business was still music related. Then there was, when do you start transitioning into real estate?
Yeah.
And we don't have to go straight to that, but I'm not going to let us leave without talking about the Christmas story. So I know that has related to the church stuff too. So where does Creative Audio Lab make sense? Because this was like something you started developing and like, okay, we do it outside of church and now I have a business. Not necessarily remodeling houses relates to tuning the guitars and mixing the music.
Yeah, not necessarily parallel.
So when does that happen?
Yeah,
and how?
So it was really the same type of journey that we've talked about, where it's kind of one thing leads to the next thing, leads to the next thing. But this just so happened to be the studio had grown. We had several employees now. We were doing a lot of work. Got some level of success, and Dana and I, my wife Dana, from the start of really our start of our marriage, we had always talked about just wanting to, we'd really like to get into at some level property investing. Vacation properties were always cool to talk about. Man, it'd be awesome to have a vacation property one day, do something like that. And so it was always interest, but I think we had, through some friends who were also doing, they were more doing the construction side at the time. They were interested in getting into remodel specifically. And we had a little bit of money saved up from the studio success. And we just kind of, in a hot tub in Branson, decided with them, like, hey, we should do this. Like, let's try this. We'll try one. And it was right at the kind of the bottom of the barrel of the 2010, kind of 2008, but it really hit Tulsa 2010. It was the bottom of the barrel. It was a perfect time to get into the market. And so we started flipping, and we've done, I think now 17 properties over the course of being married 15 years.
Whoa.
But all of those were different levels of, renovation or renovate to rent or whatever. And there were seasons where we did more, seasons where we didn't do any. So it hasn't been constant.
Yeah.
But yeah, that just became kind of like a side hustle, project that we always had going. And honestly, truthfully, if you're looking at it on paper and what actually financially has happened, the studio was always an incredible provision for just expenses, paying the bills. It was just a great resource, just brought in this consistent cash flow, but didn't really necessarily build wealth. And I mean, we're not wealthy,
sure,
but the wealth that we have been able to build has been in property.
That's
and so
awesome.
that's been super cool. It's just like, there's kind of like, that's our little nest egg. Like we don't do a lot in a lot of other investment type stuff, but we do have that. And a studio, the equipment you invest in, a lot of it, is going to lose value. It's not stuff that's going to last in that way. So it really was a great side business to have. And so now today we actually have currently 5 properties. 2 of them are on the market. So those were flips that we're selling, but we have an Airbnb property and a rental, 2 rental properties that are just monthly cash flow. So that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. And as a mortgage lender who's always talking about building wealth through real estate, I love hearing this. And, it's amazing because it is truth. It's true. And especially we are in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We're not in some big bubble it's going to bust and values go down. We're very consistent and steady of an uptick. And man, that's fantastic. I think we can really dive deep there. I want to hop to the Christmas story.
Yeah.
And so going back to, let's zip back a little bit to serving the church / working at the church.
Yes.
Man, one of the things our church is known for a lot of different stuff, but I don't know what year it started, and more than that because it probably started with the youth. But our church started doing this Christmas production that there was Pastor Willie George told the Christmas story, and there was a score behind it, and it just he takes us on this wonderful journey, and it just was a grand slam.
Yeah.
It struck a nerve, and it hit.
He did it once, and then everybody wanted it every year.
Like this is the thing.
Yeah.
Like we're going to do this every year, right?
Yeah.
And we did it for a lot of years, and or still do. And it wasn't until later till we had mutual friends of how much I knew you were behind all of this.
Okay. Yeah.
And so. Tell us what this is.
This is a cool story.
Now it's spinned off into you have a ministry,
and
you're getting this out. So
yeah. So this is cool.
What's the origin story, and where is it at now?
So Creative Audio Lab had been around for several years, and I was partnering with the church. Again, you mentioned just the scope of what the worship ministry started to really do. I mean, it was big level stuff. I mean, think big show. I mean, it got very, very, very high end with what they were doing. Well, that was such a cool thing to partner with. Every Christmas, Creative Audio Lab, I'd be like a key partner. So we would, we'd get to do this work. And so that would mean, them coming in, helping write and produce music that would then be on the stage that year for Christmas. And so fun, so many great memories. I mean, worked so hard on all that stuff. One of the things though that at the time, Pastor Witt came to me and said, "Hey, I want to write a score for the story of Christmas." And so we're going to put, just kind of take the biblical accounts of the Gospels and put it together, and let's just kind of see what we can do. So the first iteration was rough. It was fine, but it was like all the guts were there, but it was our first try, and we did that for the youth that year. And then the very next year, it was such a hit in the youth that they said, "Hey, let's do that again." Well, I worked on it again, plussed it up. Well, in 2010, which was the first time we did it, was 2006. So in 2010,
not that long ago.
Yeah.
Huh? Wow.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
So then in 2010 was the first year that it had gotten enough recognition that I went to Witt and said, "Hey, other churches are starting to reach out. They want to do this. It's not in a form that they can do it. It's somebody's got to put the work in to actually make this a product that they can utilize, that could bless them, because it's really just in a bunch of, I mean, it's just, if you took what we had, I mean, nobody would be able to make sense of it. It'd just be all over the place. So he said, do it. Just, I was like, do you want to do this together? He's like, no, just do it. He was such a generous, offer from him to just say, hey, take it and run with it. So since then, over, I think it's probably 700 and something churches now across the United States, across the world. There's been churches in 8 different countries that have done this telling of the story.
Wow.
And so a lot of that exposure came through Church on the Move, and what was, kind of the big stuff we were doing at Christmas. This really got seen a lot, and I think churches, saw it, wanted to do it. So it got, so fast forward to the final, where we are now, you've got this book sitting in front of you.
And I'm going to,
and
most are probably listening, but if someone catches a clip or I'm going to pop it right here on the screen.
Yeah. So,
and I've got the book here in front of me.
A couple years ago, we started realizing, man, this has been such an incredible part of Christmas. It's the kind of thing that when you hear it once, you just like, let's do that every year. It becomes this tradition. Well, really the heart of developing it into a book was to say, man, what if we were able to empower a family, a dad, a mom, a grandparent who wants to lead their family? Like, whether you read scripture every night before bed, or you've never read the Bible in your house before, like, this is something you could do. You could grab this book, and it's really cool because in the book there's a QR code you scan, and it takes you to that soundtrack, that immersive soundtrack experience with some visuals, and you get to actually read through it like we had experienced in the live version, where Pastor Willie George would read it. But it makes you the storyteller. It makes you the person who's getting to lead your family in that moment. And so this kind of latest iteration of it is something that we're just so pumped about, because it's kind of, you see the journey. I mean, it started way back there. Went to bless churches. Well, now it's in a form where it can bless families. And so it's just a really cool journey of the story there.
Well, okay, so to take you to these moments at our church, like John says, picture really pretty big time performance. We have the space for that, and we could hire it in if we needed to. All the wonderful musicians of the stringed instrument orchestra to the grand piano out there, and the illustrations. So we're, just taking someone there, the wonderful music, the score, the illustrations on the screen, and, our pastor, the wonderful voice, reading scripture.
Yes.
And if you've gone through it a lot, you are thinking, let's go to that performance so we can watch them.
Yes.
And you're never really thinking, I could do that too. And you're like,
you're probably thinking, I could never do that.
No, you really are. It's just like, because it's so high level.
Yes.
And as it should be.
Yes.
As it should be. And so to start saying like, okay, church, you don't have to have this. Because you can put we're going to give you the illustrations. You can put them up. You already know the story, and it's you reading the scripture, and we're going to get you this music or whatever. And to now bring it to, I love this, like dads, moms, but I think a lot of it's geared towards the dads too. Of an opportunity, because I don't know the percentages, but us being in men's ministry, we're looking at stats all the time of mom being the spiritual leader, and you're kind of looking to her where the scripture references, and I'm no different. I mean, my wife is, to me, a Bible scholar. I mean, she digs deep, and I'm good with the half of a chapter. That was fine by me. But this is an opportunity to help a dad or a parent. It doesn't have to be a dad, but again, I'm in men's ministry, so I'm always geared towards the dad. That's where God's called me, and the opportunity to lead.
Yes. And I think, if we're being honest, any of us that are dads, we're trying to lead well. We're trying we want to interact with our kids. So many times we might even try something and it just, it's just like, that didn't really work, or it falls flat. But there's this desire to go, man, how do I feel like I need to be living my faith at home. Like, I know the importance of, I'm so thankful for the church, so thankful for the, the small group or the whatever we're doing, or the, the community stuff. But like, I know if my kids don't experience this in me, that something is going to be not translated. Like, how do I, and so for a dad, like I said, whether you, this is something, or a grandparent, this, whether you have never done this, and it's like, hey, we're going to read the story of Christmas. Like, nobody's going to think, that's weird. What's wrong with dad? He's, it's like, it's Christmas time. You can do this, but it's 2 chapters, literally, almost word for word, 2 chapters of scripture you get to read with your family. And in this beautiful way, you can lead a spiritual moment. And I think that's the heart of it, to go, man, dad, wherever you are, like whatever level you feel like you're at, like you could do this and it's going to bless your family, and your kids are going to understand your faith in Christ through you telling this story. Like, it's going to be a conduit. It's going to be a way for you to share that. So
I like the idea of a dad rehearsing this too, of like, maybe the first time through, nervous reading. If I'm talking about myself, nervous reading, but it's like, man, God's calling you to keep doing it.
Yes.
Do it again.
Do it again.
And show them. I think it'd be great for the kids to see you a little nervous and a little less confident. And show them that you can work through this. Because it's that important to you.
And I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen. The second you do it, they're going to say, do it again. Read it again right now. Like, read it again. So that's what my kids did.
I bet.
But it's because to them, you are the greatest storyteller. That's who you are in their life. And so it's just, you're just embodying that person that you want to be, I think. And so it's such a cool tool. So we're just praying that God uses it to bless families and keep this telling of the story alive.
Yeah, man, and He will. And it's just it's just another step that God has given you, because you're a faithful man and you're diligent in what He puts in your hands.
Thank you.
And
praise God.
God is looking for men and women that He can trust. And I think we lose sight of that because we're only thinking about my little ability. But when He finds people He can trust, He can put some really big things in your hands. Because the guys who are not taking something seriously, or not dialing in on opportunities that are given for God, but they're just kind of seeing it as like, kind of half-hearted to do that. But those who could really dial in and say, God, you could trust me. Whether it's sweeping up. I'm in men's ministry, and part of my service to the Brotherhood Breakfast I serve is I was just in the kitchen. I was a greeter. I was a greeter. I was a this. I was a that. And not that I'm big time now, but God has called me to some great circles of leadership and have a voice these days. But if I look at my story, it's just about being like, well, you just put this little thing in my hand, like order the food, make sure it's here on time. It's something simple that becomes difficult when it gets bigger. But point being is, like, John, it's just another thing that God has entrusted you with. And these things are just becoming more impactful and more powerful. And I know that he's
building the kingdom.
He's building the kingdom. Dude, and I want to get, and I have time. I'm taking the time.
Okay.
I'm taking the time. 2 things I want to hit on. When we've done a mountain men trip together, we've gone on a backpacking trip where we go out and seek God. And I think you were one of the first ones, or the one that can really stands out to me, that started talking about kingdom minded. And I want to hear your thoughts on kingdom minded and what does that mean? And and I want us to lead into prayer, not us praying, but you're a man of prayer, a deep belief in prayer, a deep belief
that's
in
connected
to God.
Kingdom.
So you got the stage, man.
I think, gosh, you set it up so well. I mean, everything that we do, everything that, at some point as guys, we're guys here in business, we probably start out at some level pursuing our own thing. I mean, it's really, if we're honest, like we want to honor God with it, but it's really about us. It's really like, I want to do that thing. And I don't think that's necessarily horrible. I think that's fine. I think it's part of the journey. But as we encounter more of Him, as we as we just see more of what he can do and what he is doing, I think it calls to us, and we start to see the shallowness of everything in this world. It's just, man, that's just shallow. It's just like that. I just don't even know if I want to live for that. Like, and God begins to really open our eyes to the hope, what Paul describes in Ephesians as the hope of his calling. So the hope of God's calling, his purpose on my life, not my purpose for my life. And his purpose is he's reconciling the entire world back to himself through his son, Jesus Christ.
Yes.
I mean, and Jesus is going to come back here and reign and rule, and he's going to set up his kingdom, and we can be a part of the kingdom and building that kingdom now. Like, that's not just a there, then and there thing. That's now. And so really beginning to just get a perspective of, I think it goes back to that question of why is a big question that I think at some point in our life we start asking that question.
Yep.
First, it's just how, what, when, where. I mean, those are the, but like eventually we get to where we start going, why do I do this?
Yeah.
And I think that's the invitation. That's the invitation to go kingdom, to go, God, whatever I do, whatever I'm in, like, I mean, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. Why I want to do it is I want to do it. I want to build your kingdom. I want to see you get more influence. I mean, the Lord's Prayer starts with, hallowed be your name. What does that mean? I think that's that people,
right.
That's a spiritual, religious kind of thing, it sounds like, but really what that is I'm praying, God, I want your name to be great in the earth again.
Wow.
I want your name to be great here. I want your kingdom to come. I want your will to be done. I'm here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm here right now. I'm on the earth. I'm alive. And what is it that you want to do through my life? How can I be a part of your kingdom? And I think that is just, man, when we taste the satisfaction and the just the beauty of what it is to begin to position our life for not ourself, not self-centeredness, not seeking my own or whatever, but I'm really positioning my life in such a way where I'm saying, God, I want to live for your kingdom. That is like, we taste something that is finally not shallow.
Yeah.
It finally doesn't have that thin. It's just like, we did the vacation, we did the thing, but I'm just
still empty.
I'm still empty. Like, I'm doing it. Is this it? Is this all there is? And so, I think that's what kingdom means to me. It means to just begin to get that revelation of the why behind your life, and that you are living here now as a person on this earth, and you can bring the kingdom of God can come through your life and my life. How does that, how do I tap into that?
Yeah.
What do I need to do? Yeah.
Well, I love that. It needs to be what God has put into our hands. We need to be God-centered. Like, this needs to be Christ-centered. I'm running a business.
Yep.
If I'm running a business, how do I make this Christ-centered?
Yes.
Because if I'm not making it Christ-centered, then, like, dude, what are you doing then? What are we doing here?
Yep.
You want to ask God to give you a great business, but you don't want to include him in your business?
Yeah.
It's what we do, and this doesn't make sense to God.
Right.
God's like, you become kingdom-minded and include me in this business, and I'm going to prosper you.
Yeah. The earth is the Lord's.
Yeah.
So it's even seeing that too. It's like, this actually all belongs to you.
Yeah.
I think it belongs to me, but this is actually yours. So how do we do this? How do we build this?
Oh, it's all yours anyway, Lord. Okay. I want to touch on prayer.
Yes.
And then my last question is, I got for you, but I want to touch on prayer. And here's why I want to touch on prayer. I've spent some time with you on some trips, hiking the mountains, and just in men's ministry together. Like, you're the guy called upon when it's like, are we going to start a prayer group or like,
yeah.
We were talking a little bit about before the podcast is like, a lot of people pray. I pray. And, here are the prayer warriors, but someone like you, I just know you have this deep revelation and this deep belief in prayer and speaking to God and asking to God and believing. And I want to hear from you of like, what is prayer to you and what's the importance of prayer?
Yeah. Okay. So I would say you probably pray better than you think, by the way. There's not, prayer is prayer. Prayer is heart towards the Lord, talking to the Lord. But I think one of the things that began to really draw me in, I still have an awesome dad who has taught me a little bit about what he's learned about prayer. But this is a great example of maybe how to set this up. I needed to hear from God about something in my life. I had been wrestling with it back and forth. I mean, and my wife's looking at me like, what are we doing? Like, you got to make a decision about this. And it was really about a move and purchasing something. And I just could not, it wasn't something that could be settled here.
Yeah.
And I needed to hear from God. I was just like, and my dad challenged me, and he was just like, have you prayed about it? And I'm like, well, yeah. But I think then he said, but like, have you prayed until you got the answer?
Wow.
And I think when he said that, I was just like, well, what's that look like? And he began to challenge me to just say, like, God wants to answer you. But Jesus taught us to ask and ask and ask and be persistent. Jesus tells the story about the persistent widow who comes to the king who's unjust, actually. And it's just her constant kind of persistence. Finally, the guy turns and goes, yeah, okay, I'm going to give you what you want. But he's setting up, not that we, that's an image of God the Father. It's more like, this is what it looks like to pray and receive.
Yeah.
This is what the journey of prayer can and should look like. It should look like this. I know you're going to answer. I know you have an answer for me, so much so that I'm just going to be persistent in my asking until I receive the answer. And I think that's the invitation of prayer that God really wants all of us as followers of Christ to interact in and become fluent in.
Yeah.
Is, am I praying just because I want to pray and because I think, well, at least I prayed? Or do I have my sights set on receiving something? Hebrews 11 says that without faith it's impossible to please him. Those who come to him must believe that he is, and that he's a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. Some of these things have shaped how I view prayer. But back to the story.
Yeah.
I started asking. It wasn't like, religious or works or just, it was just, okay, I'm just going to do what Jesus said. He said to be persistent. So I asked 2 or 3 times a day. I was just consistent. God, I'm asking you to show me this. And basically I'll tell it. I was reading the word.
Yeah.
Completely. This is probably 14, 15 days into this series of asking, and wasn't thinking about this, was just having a morning coffee and reading, and like these words jumped off the page of scripture to my heart. And the words were, they spoke exactly to this thing, but it was it wasn't really in the context of what this. And I called my dad right after that, and I was like, does God ever speak to you this way? Where it's like because it was like they jumped off the page and went down, and I was like, I know God spoke to me about that. And you hear that a lot when people say, how did you know God spoke to you? Or how did you know that was him? And typically when people journey this way in prayer, it's just like, I don't know. I just something changed, and I knew. There wasn't that feeling of not knowing that was replaced with a feeling of knowing, and I knew.
That's good.
And so, but I think prayer, going back to overarching, why it's so like, I get so fired up about it, and I just love investing in prayer, is that I think it is the place that we as men, as followers of the Lord, are able to take our faith and make it action. We can actually put a belief into into action. Meaning, so if I'm, we come up against so many things in our life that we feel like our only option is probably some kind of man's solution. Well, I'm dealing with this thing in my marriage, counseling, we did that didn't work or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with this thing and I've hit it with everything I know how to hit it with.
Right.
And it still isn't moving. It's the same.
We're out of
and
formulas.
we either look at that and we go, that's it.
Yeah.
I gave up. Or it's an invitation to go, God, what if you could do what I can't do?
Yeah.
And what if you're just waiting for me to ask you to do that? And I think that's what's so cool about prayer is perfect. we get to see God. And I have seen this, and this is why you can't get me not excited about it, but you get to see God do things that you can't do, that you go, you did that because I asked you. Wow. You did that because you cared. You want me to have this kind of a relationship with you where I ask you about this thing that, and again, praying the kingdom, it's not, God, I want a boat. And, right. Unless he told you to get a boat and, and you're believing for that, but it's like, it's not self-seeking. It's like, God, there's an issue in my marriage that I can't solve, that if we solve that, we would be more situated and positioned to be more, it would be a benefit to the kingdom of God. It would be a benefit to my wife. It'd be a benefit to our family to walk more with you, to grow in our relationship with you. Those are the kinds of things that, like, when we hit stuff and we start asking God about that, then we see him do something we can't do. And
that's wonderful.
Yeah. Sorry, I went on a long.
No, that's
it was
good.
A long.
No, I know, I love it. And prayer is broad, like you said, overarching.
Yeah.
You're asking, seeking, knocking.
Absolutely.
God's ultimate is like prayer helps you to abide.
Yeah.
Prayer helps you with your relationship because it's drawing you towards me.
It's getting you back to that reality. Yeah. Just seeing things.
Yeah. And it's not a tease. Like, are you just teasing me? No, he's training you to come seek me.
Yeah.
He's training you to come seek me. He's training like over and over and again, seek me.
Yep.
Seek me. Okay. Last question for sure. And we'll wrap it up. This podcast is lasting impact.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you, what does lasting impact mean to you?
Man, I think lasting impact truly, the greatest thing I can do in this earth to leave an impact is to become more like Jesus. And I get to live a life of learning to become more like Jesus. And I think if I do that, I think it leaves a lasting impact on my kids, on my every relationship I have, everything I put my hand to, everything. If my goal is to become more like Jesus, and live more like him, he made the greatest lasting impact you could have.
That's right.
He changed the entire world through 12 guys, and basically he left, and then what he did with those 12 guys, and so I think that is how I would define it, is to just have my life be driven and focused and purposed in a direction that is becoming more like Christ. Yeah. I'm gonna have a great impact.
Dude, that's perfect. And it reminds me of before we went on this trip together, this Mountain Men trip, we were talking about what are we going on this trip for? And a lot of the discussions are, something you're leaving on the mountain, something you're bringing back. And guys are like, I'm believing for a career change, and I'm believing for something in my marriage or something. And I was like, man, I just really feel right now like I want to, and basically I rattled off like the fruits of the Spirit in my own way.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, okay, you just talked about being more like Jesus. So if you're going to the mountain to say like, God, I'm going to this mountain because I want to become more like you, and what other could be more perfect reason?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, such a,
I remember that.
I'm like, give me more money. No, not necessarily. I need some, but I'm not thinking of that right now.
Sure,
a better husband. But I just it was all just, I need to be more patient with my wife. I need to talk better to my wife and my kids. I need to slow down. And you're like, you're discussing the fruits of the Spirit. Well, we'll we'll wrap this up, man. I just so grateful that you came on, and I'm so honored to be your pal, man. It means a lot to me.
Likewise, man. Thank you so much.
So this is John Mitchell, and he's making a lasting impact. If you liked today's conversation and want to hear more, hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to leave a review and share your thoughts. Your feedback keeps the impact going.